Hello and welcome to this thought for the day, where I reflect on the Gospel for Friday morning, Matthew chapter 6, verses 19 to 23, especially focusing on Jesus' words that we should store treasures in heaven rather than here on earth. We can gain a glimpse of what Jesus meant by hearing stories of those whose attempt to store treasure on earth have come to naught. For example, once thieves broke into the offices of an agency that helped the poor. They thought they had hit the jackpot when they found a safe in the office. Rather than trying to crack it, they simply took the whole thing. When they eventually managed to open it, their disappointment was palpable. It was empty. And this was not the end of the story. The director of the agency said that they had wanted to throw the old safe away anyway, but it was too big to move. The director added, "It was really quite comical. It was very heavy, and they did us a favour by taking it." The thieves thought they'd found a great treasure, and it turned out to be one of those great disappointments that occurs when our treasures are earthly in nature. Compare this to the experience of an American traveller who in the 19th century visited a famous Polish rabbi. Astonished to see that the rabbi's home was only a simple room filled with books, plus a table and a bench, the tourist asked, "Rabbi, where is your furniture?" "Where is yours?" replied the rabbi. "Mine?" asked the puzzled American. "But I'm a visitor here. I'm only passing through." "So am I," said the rabbi. Store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, Jesus commands us. When I think about what is involved in storing treasure in heaven, I find great wisdom in the work of Darrell Tippins. In his book, Pilgrim Heart, The Way of Jesus in Everyday Life, Tippins lists 17 practices of the Pilgrim Heart. Some we might be very familiar with. For example, emptying ourselves, confession, listening, or suffering. I mention here several that might surprise us, but also encourage us to live lives that store treasures in heaven rather than struggling with empty, useless safes. Firstly, Tippins mentions welcoming. And he gives an example of welcoming in his own life that's really stuck with him. He once contacted the Catholic writer Henri Nouwen to see if he would agree to be interviewed for an article. Not only did Nouwen agree, but he gave generously of his time and wisdom and even took him out to lunch. Hospitality, Nouwen told him, was the creation of a free and open space where we can reach out to strangers and invite them to become our friends. Tippins also mentions creating, and he says this: "The Church has not always been kind to its artists." He goes on, however, that pilgrim hearts have always understood that creation and creativity are earthly signs of ever gesturing towards the Creator. There are expressions of Christianity that have been dismissive or even opposed to artistic expression as a heavenly treasure. In our tradition, our value of the arts is all around us, in our buildings, our music, our vestments, our silverwork, our icons, sculptures, and stained glass windows. To some other Christians, these are seen as distractions at best and idolatry at worst. But Tippin puts it so well when he describes the spirituality of artistic endeavour as earthly signs gesturing towards the Creator. Then Tippins goes on to talk about feasting. The earliest Christians devoted enormous attention to meals, especially, of course, to the Eucharist. For Tippins, the Bible illustrates that all table talk is God talk. I had a great lesson in this when I was a first-year theological student. After Sunday worship, my vicar arranged for me to have lunch with parishioners. After that, he and I would sit down and have a feedback session. These lunches were among the most memorable times of my priestly formation. We shared not just food, but the aromas, the laughter, the joy, and the conversations of Christian hospitality. Then Tippins mentions seeking, where he says, "A faithful heart is always a passionate pilgrim heart, ever on the road, ever moving forward, searching for understanding, seeking the face of God." He cites Hebrews 11, which begins with a list of Old Testament forebears who had faith in God but had not lived to see the coming of Christ. Of those heroes of the faith, the writer says, "We find them longing for a better country, a heavenly one." As we too long for a better country, let us save up for ourselves treasures in heaven. Thank you.